Hey, what's going on everybody? BDF 44 coming at you in another video. Alright, so I got random stuff on my mind. It's 5 in the morning. The first thing I'm going to say, this is absolutely random, but this is very important. There's a song called, it's a little bit heavy, I believe is the name of it, by an artist named Joseph. I like the song. It's been out since probably last February, right? I just found it yesterday. Never heard the song before until yesterday, but the single's been out since February. Now, ironically enough, but this is not too ironic, the album itself that the song is a part of comes out next March. So the song's been out for a whole year. But the thing about it is, the old cut that they came out with a year ago, the drums pop like crazy. Now, mind you, I am someone who played the drums when I was a little kid in a samba band, so I know how they're supposed to sound when it's done a certain way, when it's properly done. When you're letting the drums pop the way they're supposed to, it's gonna make the song sound fuller and better, and you know what I'm saying? It just makes the song sound better. And so, as a playlist curator, as somebody who mixes music and blends songs for a living, without the money, of course, because I don't do this for a living, but I do this like professionally, basically, in terms of a skill. When you listen to the album version of that song, and then you listen to the version that's been out for a year, the drums on the album version have been dulled out. It's like they took the drums and they took the pop out of the drum. It's like, the way I was told to beat a drum is you got to hit a drum and make it recoil. Because if you hit it and if you land flat, it's gonna make the sound flat. So that means if you're beating a drum, what you want your arm to do is to recoil up, to pop back up immediately upon hit, so you get a more full sound. What it sounds like they did in the album version of that song is they took drums that pop properly and they slapped them. They didn't let the hand pop up when they hit the drum. It was like they were banging the drum, but in a dull way, to where it didn't sound full, but it sounded muffled. Why am I saying all this? Because it annoyed the hell out of me, and I never talk about music, and it's something that I think I want to start bringing to the table more so, because I listen to so much music and I don't verbalize what it is that I hear. And one of the things that frustrates me is hearing people change music when the album comes out. If you're gonna, and obviously we're in the streaming era, so they can change music 170 times even after the album's been released. We've seen Kanye do it, we've seen a million artists do it, and now it's common. You will look up, and after an album comes out, maybe they don't like the vocals of the album, on the vocals on a particular song, so they'll change the vocals up. So that's normal, and I'm sure they will do that, especially if they ever hear the complaints of someone like myself. But listen, the album cut is garbage. That's the bottom line. The real cut that they've had out for a year, the single version, is awesome. That's basically it. I could not use the album version, even though the album version is actually going to be the quote-unquote real version someday. Hopefully by the time they drop the album, they will understand the importance of putting the drums from the single back on the album. Because this is a travesty. You change the song all the way around. You take the soul out of the song, you take the bass out of the song, you take the pop out of the song, you take anything that makes the song really, really pop out of it. And the thing about it is, that can change the sound of an entire playlist. You understand what I'm saying? When you have a playlist that has a bunch of like sounds on it, and then you try to fill that song in between the songs that I placed in between, and you have that dull version without the drums, it's almost an entirely different playlist. That's how much it can change things, because now you got a vibe of a song that doesn't have the same tempo as some of the other songs I've smashed it against. So I tried using this album version. I'm like, bro, what is this? It changed the vibe of what I got going on here. Just by changing the drums. Just simply by removing the drums and replacing them with lesser, duller drums. That's all it takes to ruin a song, man. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to say, man. Y'all go check out that song if you like that type of music. I was just making a playlist as I always do. I believe the name of this particular one was Delicity 308. Named after my homegirl Delicia. And I make art on CDs, so that's where the play on words come from. And so that's what it is, man. I do it like the old school, man. I'll put together a playlist and then I'll make art on a CD. I'll take a picture of the CD and slap it on the playlist, and that's what you'll see as the cover art. And been doing this for what, 5 years now, almost 6 years. As you can see, that was at 308. And my other list is called the K list, and that's up to 311 as of yesterday. So we're not playing games, man. Follow me on Apple Music, BDF, and see exactly what I was talking about in regards to that. Now, I didn't use that album cut, of course. I used the single version, and I plan on continuing to keep it on that playlist. But it's like, if the album cut is the one that's ultimately going to go down in history, why would it be a worse version of the song? That's all I'm saying. So anyway, enough of that, man. I'm trying to slap him between Cuff It by Beyonce and this new track by Rini that also has a tempo, and I'm like, that I can't put that song in there with those drums like that. That turns Cuff It into something that doesn't even fit on the album. That's essentially what it did. But anyway, yeah, that's what we on, man. So I hope everybody is enjoying their lives. I don't have anything really deep to say, and that's the good thing about therapy sessions. Some days I can come up here and have the most important things to say, and other times I really don't have much but a little bit of something on my mind that I can talk about like this. And that's what you come to me for, whatever the heck comes out of my brain, because you know this brain is going to give you random, and you know it's going to give you something that nobody else is probably going to give you in the way that it gives you it. So that's what you come to me for, man. As of right now, I'm at a space where I was thinking about the music. Obviously, I woke up looking at stuff on my phone, and that immediately came to mind. But aside from that, the only stories that's really going on is the same old behind the curtain crap. The talk of the town. And my thing is, there's really not a whole lot to be said until somebody else acts up and makes people, swirl around it and chop it up again about this. But I like the fact that the conversation has been in place, because it's kind of been on point with some of the therapy sessions that I've been having leading up to it. It's not like we hadn't been talking about all the stuff that's going on pretty much leading up to its beginning. So it's all really kind of divine to me. Seems really, really special that we're all here having this conversation. When, if you follow me, you know we started having that conversation about 2 weeks before all the nonsense started happening. But it's one of those things where it's like, that's what prayer does. It kind of taps me into stuff that maybe I would otherwise be able to tap into, maybe be able to kind of be relevant in conversations before stuff even happens sometimes, just by way of that connection with God that I'm continuing to try to keep going. And I always tell people, when you're living right, it's easier to make sense of things in your life. It's easier to see things that don't make sense in other aspects of life, because you're not compromised by wanting the wrong things or aiming for the wrong things or trying to protect yourself from being seen for doing the wrong things. It's distracting. And more than anything else, beyond all the wisdom, living that way, it requires a lot of thought, a lot more thought than we probably need to be giving that kind of thing. And that's why I'm like, all right, when I look back at my life over the last several years, and I think about how I was feeling when I retreated from being at work and all that stuff I was doing, and try to face my fears or face my depression and all that other stuff that I was dealing with at the time. What I was trying to find was a prayer life, a religious base, so to speak. Not necessarily religious, but spiritual, so that I could overcome certain things that I could not seem to control within myself. How I was feeling, the way I was viewing things, doing things that hurt my own circumstances in the name of trying to protect my mindset or whatever. I just needed to get my priorities in order and discover who it is that I was becoming as an artist and as a person who was just tired of doing the same type of work. Tired of doing security, tired of just the whole thing that came with it. In my mind, the way I think, I really needed to be doing other things. And so it reached a head. When you do stuff that's not for you for too long, and for myself, it just drove me completely up a wall, and I needed to walk away from everything that everyone needed me to do so I could find myself, so that I could finish the rest of this life. And that's what I think I've done here. I've given myself an understanding of who I want to be going forward. An artist, playlist guy, this videographer, whatever you call this blogging thing. It was all concepts and different things I was trying when I found myself in this space. Now it's my life. I wake up in the morning, 5 in the morning, I'm thinking about turning on this camera and getting you guys some content. After that, I'm thinking about all the other things that I've developed in this house over the last year and a half. And it's one of those things where it's like, I know that I would not have developed these things if I didn't take that chance and take the, stance that I did in regards to what I was doing with AMC, what I was doing with all the different things that ultimately led to me being in this space in this way. Different things that I did because of AMC, making sure that I didn't have a certain type of monthly bill like Wi-Fi. Living in this house without Wi-Fi forced me to be an artist. It forced me to pay more attention to different things that would otherwise be supplemented by watching TV shows and playing NBA 2K and stuff that would really eat up a lot of my time as a person. The things that would otherwise keep me from fighting depression properly. Not really knowing how to fight my depression because I was too busy throwing my spirit at those things. And so that's what I'm here to say is like, I was looking for something. And what I ended up finding was it. I found what I was looking for, but I also found that it becomes easier to do what is difficult in that regard. So what I'll say is, like, for example, developing these habits. It's harder now to turn away from these habits at this point than it is to motivate myself to do them. It's one of those things. So it's like you love the habits that you've developed when you just take the time and devote to yourself. So that's what I want to encourage everybody to understand, is that once you do that, once you start looking for yourselves in a spiritual way, once you start looking for things that maybe you didn't develop on your own, then you start opening up other aspects of your heart or your mind. Then you start wanting more for others. Then you start wanting more from within yourself to provide for others. And you start thinking about things that don't just pertain to you. And that's what I found living right is really about for me. I guess layers of living right that need to be unveiled to me to help me understand what exactly that looks like. I'm still defining that. For me, at one point, it was just about not doing things that I was struggling with sin-wise, not messing around and dabbling in things that I knew didn't help me. Now it's like, did I say enough prayers this morning? Did I remember to mention this person and that person? Did I remember to do the things that I know I should outside of the things that are just regular stuff? That's the best way I know to describe it. With what I've added to my life in regards to what my standards are, am I keeping those now that they've come? And those standards do develop as you start that process. You begin to start living your definition of right. You do find out that it expands. It expands. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. It's not just about making sure I remember to pray in the shower. Now I'm praying, I gotta remember who all I'm praying for. That's where it started for me. It was like, can I remember to do this? Can I remember to give the Lord his minutes and his time in my day? Now it's like, I need to make sure I get all of these things in so that each and every day the Lord can see how serious I am about protecting all of whom I care about, of being a source of from which he can use or whatever. All these different things. It's like, end up in the shower for 35 minutes to assure you say every prayer necessary. It's like, this is where we've gotten to. And this is where I've built myself to, mentally and spiritually. I remember one random day 3 years ago, when I first started this process, I was praying for strength. I was praying for the practice of being able to pray and to learn to love prayer and to learn to love how to meditate and all these different things that I felt would make me a happier person on the inside. It's gotten to a point now, it's like I'm thankful for the strength that he's given me. Now I'm asking him to strengthen others. Now I'm asking him to strengthen specific people on the list that I pray for every day. It's like, this is the unlayered you know, aspects of what it is I'm talking about. Like he's showing me the new standards. It ain't just that you pray. Did you get all 100 names in? Did you remember the different affirmations? Did you also remember certain things that you had to proclaim to remind yourself to be humble? Like there's all these different things, and now really go together with getting my mind right. You know what I mean? And as it continues to expand, I'm pretty sure I'll grow from here, and that's what it's about, keeping that practice. When you face those days that you want to take steps backwards, fighting that complacency with the energy you've put in already, with the strength that you've asked for already, which does get easier as you continue to be consistent. And that's what I'm finding. And from there, it just becomes, the stronger I get in prayer, the stronger I am in my practices, the more layers that I continue to unveil and then keep, the stronger I find my confidence in understanding what the Lord wants me to do versus what he doesn't want others to do. And that's the part I didn't see at all when I started this process. It's the confidence that I would find that my connection with God is real and that I can speak in confidence based on the fact that I'm living right and that he's able to use me properly because of it. That confidence came. That wasn't what I was asking for. That wasn't what I thought would come. That wasn't what I thought I needed. But now when I speak in this camera, I'm less likely to second guess myself because I know I'm not clouded by certain things that I know would compromise my message when I'm not living right. And that has kept me wanting to live better in the dark. Because now that I've built this and I've revealed those layers, I understand what happens if I try to go backwards and putting those layers back. I understand what happens if I start acting like I don't know what it feels like to have this strength. Like I don't know the importance of praying for others. Like I don't know the importance in keeping my voice confident. It's kept me from wanting to go backwards into different spaces that otherwise made me depressed. Some of those things felt really good. Playing 2K for 4 and 5 hours. My basketball Jones, I loved that, but it did not allow for me to heal in other ways that needed to be done in my spirit. Those are the type of demons that I was fighting. Depressing demons, complacency demons, stuff like that. It's like when you don't live right, your spirit is clogged and that connection with God isn't as confident. Now it's like, Lord, I can't hear you. What do you want me to do, God? I'm sorry, in the cloud of all this sin, I just can't quite hear you. And that's what I was dealing with. As someone who calls himself someone spiritually inclined, someone who tries to read tea leaves and stuff like that, it was almost like I had writer's block spiritually when I was trying to speak clearly about things that mattered to me. Because I wasn't living right, it wasn't meant for me to say the right things. It's like you're not on your own side, so how can you help anybody else? You know what I mean? If you're sinning, you're living in sin, you're deteriorating your own spirit. So when you go to bring your wisdom to somebody else, it's going to be deterred by that. It's going to be scared by that. And I think that's something that we all need to really, really give some thought to. Because I don't know if everybody has that in their lives, but I can tell you I found it in mine. I ain't the same person when I ain't living right. And so it's that simple. It's like that has kept me wanting to fight that complacency, wanting me to stay away from those video games, wanting to stay away from whatever demons I got so that I can keep my spirit, engaged in what it is that I feel I should, and ultimately be able to have that confidence that I'm speaking the right way when I speak. Because ain't nothing compromising my soul, my spirit, my actions, or my thoughts. And so that's what it is, man. You guys are helping keeping me in the right in regards to my own standards. Because I know if I don't keep it right with myself, it's going to be very difficult for me to give you the stuff that I need to. And so that's another thing. It's like you start developing those responsibilities of keeping your spirit right, yourself holy, so to speak. You start thinking that you need to do that rather than it's something that you need to do for yourself. Like, I need to do this because if I don't, I'm going to burn. It stops being about that. It starts being about wanting to be able to function properly so you can be properly used by the Lord. So you cannot find yourself used by the world, so to speak. And that's what ends up happening to a lot of people. Subsequently, it's not just those spiritual stuff. No, this is what happens in real life. So because you're pointed at the wrong things, you're trying to exalt yourself, you're trying to build your kingdom, you're trying to rise to the top above everybody else, stand on the top of human beings' shoulders and say you're the king of the world. That's what most people are trying to do in this society, right? And if that's what you're doing, then you're gonna find yourself falling into every trap laid out for people like that. You know what I mean? You find yourself walking right into the holes that people who follow that path find themselves falling into. And it's an unnecessary one driven by self-exhaustion and basically sin. If they were living right, they wouldn't want those things. If they didn't want those things, they would know God didn't want them to have those things. He didn't write it in your story for you to be best with those things. People only get those things so they can be an example to others about what happens when you have those things and you don't live right. That's all they ever are. And they are never the wiser. They just continue to live their lives. If they're at the top of the mountaintop, they run into the wall that they ultimately run into, and there they are. Yet another example we can pile onto the side is people that we need to not follow. I've seen enough of them to know I need to live right. Simply put, I don't want to go down that path. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to leave you guys something better to see, another example. And if I fail, so be it. At least you heard the seed of what I was trying to do. Maybe you could take that torch and run with it. But the point is, that's what we should be trying to do. Live right, live righteously, be connected to what is true to us, which in my mind is the source, the creator of all things. And the more you live righteously, the better you are at living to your own standards, not the standards put in place for you by others, but the standards you know based on your understanding of right and wrong and your compassionate understanding of what it is you want to be. And you're living right and you have that connection with God, you're not going to be confused about who's lying to you about those things. Can't nobody tell you who's evil, who's good, can't tell you who you are, because you're living right and you're not after the things that people who aren't living right are going after. So they can't lie to you about that. They can't confuse me about me because I'm living right. I'm not spending 7 hours a day playing video games. I'm not spending 5 hours a day looking at pornography or no crazy stuff like that. I'm not doing any of that. So when they tell me that guy's evil or you're evil because you want to look at Hebrews to Negroes, I'm saying, no, I'm not. Because I know what I look like when I'm evil. And this ain't that. That's exactly what living right has done for me. It's exactly what it's done. They cannot tell me who I am. They can't tell me I'm being evil because I'm talking to God every day and he lets me know he's proud of me. Even when I'm saying, are you sure I'm good, God? He's like, yes, you're fine. Because what are you doing? You're putting me first. Even in the process of whatever mistakes you think you're making, you're putting me first. And because you're putting me first, I'm going to make sure that it falls in place for good, even if you are mistaken. But if you're living wrong, you could be doing things right, and the walls will still close in on you, because that's how energy works. So as far as I can tell, as long as I keep my energy right, those who are put in place to be opportunists in regards to making me mismanage my energy will fail. And that's the crux of a lot of the problems that we face today. It's just people trying to coerce other people into messing up their own, into ruining their energy, into ruining their lives and their souls or whatever. That's what it seems like the world is about right now, coercing others into fitting into a certain pile to fit whatever it is that they wanted to fit in. And I'm telling you, the only way they're able to do that is by way of the things that you want, that you happen to probably shouldn't want. And if you had a connection with God, you would not want those things, and then you would know why you shouldn't want those things. That's what it's doing for me. You know, the lie that's being told out there is that getting righteous is something that's corny, that trying to make yourself holy or trying to get yourself into a space where you're living right is something that's going to leave you at a disadvantage with others because everybody else is living foul, so you need to live foul too. You know, nice guys finish last, be the main character, or else you just a person in the background. All these different things that are meant to make you be selfish, meant to make you feel as if you're the only thing that matters and everybody else needs to fall in line with you. If everybody's thinking like that, eventually you're going to be the one that's going to have to fall out of line. And so that's what I've come to understand. You take care of home, you take care of that person in the mirror, and they can't define that person for you. You keep your spirit right, you do what you know is right from wrong, and they can't guilt trip you into doing wrong. And most importantly, they can't confuse you about what wrong and right looks like, because you know. You're going to feel it. And most importantly, when you're doing wrong, you're going to know what that looks like too. So they can't lie to you and tell you you're doing good either. You did good, Brandon. You didn't see Hebrews to Negroes. Yeah, but I did everything in my life I shouldn't have did that day. And because of it, I think I'm right for not looking at Hebrews to Negroes. How about that? When I sat up and meditated all day, you know what came to mind? It came to mind and said, I need to watch that movie and ignore the people telling me not to, because they're the ones who are not good. They're the ones who need a better connection with God. And so as I come to find that out, and you pray and you get your relationship with God, and you start to understand that you don't need to adhere to the world as it is, because it's about to change. And that's why it's a call on all of us to change. That's why it's a call on me to speak this way. I wasn't speaking like this for the first 5-6 years of doing this channel. I'm speaking this way now because it's time. It's simply time. It's not time to act like you don't believe in God. It's not time to act like you don't believe in being righteous or trying to become righteous or trying to undo some of the stuff that's out there for you to think about that coerces you into being unrighteous. These are the things that we need to change right now. It's not time to sit back and continue doing things the wrong way when you can clearly see they're the wrong way. It's time to straighten up, fly right, and discipline yourself. It's day one for a lot of y'all to get right. And I'm calling on you to give it some prayer. Don't take the pressure or the applied heaviness of what that means, because that will keep you in a failing space. God ain't going to apply too much on you. Just take that little mustard seed of faith and apply it, and let the rest fall into place. You don't need to take my word for it necessarily. If you go about it another way, you'll see what it is I've been saying come to pass. It just is what it is. You take care of home, and you can't be confused, because the people who are put in place to confuse you take advantage of the natural confusion of our very own sin. So it always comes back to accountability when dealing with them, and they made it that way. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.